Captain America, the First Avenger. The last movie in Phase 1 before we get to the Avengers. So, I'm sorry this review came late. I've just been very busy. I haven't had time to sit down and record, watch this movie. This movie, I think, is the best movie in Phase 1, honestly. I know people like to say Iron Man. I think this is okay. So this is the best shot movie. It's the best looking movie, I think. But I think the best movie in Phase 1 overall is The Avengers. But just in terms of how the movie looks, the effects, all that, it's fantastic. I mean, because Steve Rogers in this movie is a really skinny dude. And we know Chris Evans in real life is not that. And he did not lose the crazy amount of weight that would have been required for this type of thing to happen. And you can barely tell. It's amazing CGI. Also, just the CGI and the action scenes, stuff like that. Good stuff. It's not terrible, you know. It looks fine. The rest of these movies all kind of look kind of iffy with all of their effects. Some of them look good, some of them look bad. But this is the first one where I'm like, yes, it looks great. And I think, but this movie is directed by Joe Johnston. Now, if you don't know Joe Johnston, he directed The Rocketeer, which is another comic book adaptation that was released by Disney. And now that comic is very different from the movie. It's very mature, let's just say that. But, you know, that movie I think is a better Captain America movie than this movie. Because I felt like the action and the story flowed well together, and it had the right tone, and it came out at the right time. Because this movie, I think my biggest issue with it is the second half is bad. I think the first half is fantastic. We're getting introduced to Steve Rogers and kind of who he is as a character. You know, that scene where they're doing a test and the grenade goes off, and his first instinct is to take the bomb and die for everybody else. You know, that's a fantastic moment. We get to introduce to his relationship with Peggy Carter, all that stuff. We get to introduce to all these key elements to Captain America, his character, all that stuff, and it's fantastic. It's all really good, and that's about the first hour of this movie. Then he goes on a rescue mission to rescue some soldiers, and we get introduced to Bucky and things like that. You know, characters he knew, but the action feels like a 1990s kind of action superhero movie. It feels like The Rocketeer, and while The Rocketeer is good, it just doesn't fit the first half, and they just don't flow together very well. And they should, like, I mean, I know that a lot of the action, there should be action in this movie, right? It is a superhero movie. I'm not saying there shouldn't be, but they should have made them flow together better. You know, because it felt like the action scenes, they kind of just added them in because they thought it wouldn't be interesting enough to just show Steve becoming the Captain America we know and stuff, and so they were like, that's not interesting enough. So they're like, all right, we got to do more here, and so they kind of just added in a bunch of action scenes, and some of them are good, some of them are fun, but most of them just don't flow together, and that's just the issue. And then you get to that ending, and the ending of this movie is great. The line at the end when Captain America wakes up in the future, I know that, you know, but it's fantastic. But this movie just, if that second half had flown together better, it would have been a better movie. So it's like, it's a 5 out of 10. I think I would bump it up to a 6 if this movie would have made those parts flow together better. But it's fun, it's entertaining, and you know, for what it is, and that's the thing you'll hear me say about these Marvel movies, is they're fun, they're entertaining, but they're not great movies, and yeah, I mean, this remains no different. So I enjoyed it.